Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Yo.
What's going on?
Is Dick Girardi in studio today?
No, but I talked to him last night.
On top of mind, I see. There is a lot going on today, sport-wise.
Well, we'll start with this. The 12 Big Ten preseason honors list is out. I do know personally one of the voters.
I wonder what voter you know. Might his name rhyme with Jeeves Stones?
See him every day. Abdul Carter, by the way, I guess is on the list. I don't know. Have I seen him? Let's see. Who else is on this list? Jay Higgins, Mason Graham, Will Johnson, Colston Loveland, Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson, Kyle Monungai, Caleb Downs, Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson, and JT Tuilamolo.
So a pretty OSU, Michigan heavy list with a couple Oregons, Penn State, Rutgers, and Iowa in there.
That's fine.
Yeah. About what one would expect, I think, is the best way to put it.
Let's see. I'm not going to say who I voted for, but I'll at least tell you how many on here I didn't vote for. One, but I thought about him seriously.
It was you can use a just off the list consideration.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, for me. Two.
Let's put it this way: are there any surprises on the list?
No,
Anyone
no
you're
surprises. There's two. 3 guys on here that I did not vote for.
So pretty accurate list from Steve Jones to.
Oh no, and all the people that are on here, I seriously I thought about this guy. I thought about that guy.
Like Kyle F isn't on here,
but I picked somebody else instead. Right, but everybody on here, I took a long, hard look at and said, okay.
As the political voters say, they made the short list.
Yeah, I mean,
they made the short list.
It's. I would also like to point out that, as I pointed out many times, it's the two. Like when I vote for the Wooden Award, that's great. When I vote for the All Big Ten football, great. When I vote for All Big Ten basketball, great. The two I'm never comfortable about voting for are the preseason ones.
Because, spoiler, no one knows how it's going to play out during the season.
So you're just sitting there trying to guess.
A lot of it's what you've seen in the past.
What somebody can do.
Yeah. You probably haven't watched the most Dylan Gabriel. I'm just kind of guessing you haven't seen him play every game of his career. Is that fair to say out loud?
I mean, I saw him play at UCF, and I saw him play last year a couple of games at Oklahoma. Yeah, so I think he's really very good, and there'll be a drop-off, in my opinion, a quarterback from Bo Nix because he was exceptional at Oregon.
Yeah.
There'll be a drop-off, but not dramatic. It's to me, it's like putting in the really terrific backup quarterback that can't quite do everything the other guy can do, but is really good. And
he'll get you over the line if you need him to.
But he's really good. He's really good. I just think the guy they had the last 2 years was better. That's fine. You know, that's not much of a drop-off there. So yeah, I mean that's.
It's pretty cool.
Now, Tony Petitti's going to meet with the media today. And so very quickly, let's get to what I think he'll talk about.
Let's hear it.
One, we're happy with our 18. As I said yesterday, the last thing that Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti needs to do is to give any semblance of being unhappy with what they have, and also if something were to move later, next year, the year after, the year after that, the year after that, where there was a thought, hey, wait a minute, you said this back on media day. Was there tampering? So you're going to be very cautious about that. You're happy with your 18. We're confident we can make 18 going forward work on every sport. Okay. Next, How do you feel about a 14-team college football playoff, and what does that mean for the Big Ten in particular? Does it open the door to get 4 in? Does it open the door to get 5 in? That's the name of the game. How should the distribution of money in a 12 or 14-team playoff be distributed, especially considering the power of the Big Ten and the SEC? So these are all things I expect to come up. He's happy with the 18. We're confident we can make 18 work. Right? We're not in the expansion business because we're happy with our 18. Then we'll find out how he feels about a 12 versus a 14-team playoff. Then we'll find out about the economic distribution between the Big Ten and the SEC as compared to the other conferences, because the Big Ten and the SEC in all likelihood would have the majority of the at-large bids.
Is there anything you expect or you think we could hear about that you'd be intrigued to hear Petitti's answer to? Is there any topic you think he's probably not going to touch on, but like if he does, you'd be intrigued by his answer?
No, the expansion thing, you'd be intrigued by it. But again, as you know, from the common sense point of view, my thought is nothing is happening until the end of this decade at the earliest. At the earliest.
Yes.
And we'll see how it goes from there. Because I think something that's going to come up at the end of the decade, if things continue to go well financially, is what happened with Amazon yesterday.
Well,
I mentioned Amazon, and Angela looks over and she says, "Where are my packages?" Like, no, that's not what we're talking about.
Well, right? Angela's getting roasted on the show. That's new.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, speaking of Amazon,
but
we'll get
but I'll get to that in a second. There's an opening for a streaming package later in the decade once the new contracts are negotiated beyond Peacock. And Amazon happens to be the one. I would stay, no offense, I'd stay away from Apple. Nobody's watching it. MLS, Friday Night Major League Baseball.
And Apple just announced they're cutting back on the amount of money they spend on TV shows because they've produced some of the best original shows in terms of streaming services. It has been a challenge to get people to watch.
But you
get people watching Ted Lasso, but
you have to be able to make money. Right? And that's what I keep going back to, the streaming service part. Mary, I think you and I said, I can't tell whether it's Jason or not. I think it was the day I used bigger words, so it was you. You like that, Don?
I do.
Yeah. Good. I thought you'd like that. That all the money streaming is losing, right? Because it's a long-term play. But there's a point when any long-term play where you look around and say, look, I'm sick of losing all the money here.
Yeah.
All right. Amazon's done fine. And their billion-dollar investment in the NFL is paying big dividends. But they went for the big kahuna.
Yeah.
Right? They went for the NFL.
And that's always going to at least give you some sort of positive or at least make you even. So it's going to get you there.
Right. Now, but this is 6 years down the road. It's my gut feeling, and I've said this for 2 years now, especially last year about this time when it was maybe we're 3 weeks away from Oregon and Washington being announced in.
There was all these
the Pac-12. They were going to go with Apple. It was going to be at
35.
No, it's going to be 22 million. Then they think they got it with incentives to 25 million, and everybody looked around and go, I can't take that.
Yeah.
Oregon and Washington said, we're sunk here. Right, and they, to their credit, found a lifeboat in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten, to its credit, and Tony Petitti's credit, because I did. Now, this is one where I talked to Tony about it, so it's not like I'm not talking out of turn here. I talked,
not like we don't know the source.
Right, I talked with Tony when he was here. I had a long talk with him at practice one day, and they worked it, and they made it happen. Now you sit back and wait. The Florida State and Clemson thing, Pete Thamel's report yesterday that he put out on Twitter, that multiple sources are saying that when August 15th, which is the ACC declaration date for the next year, which would be 25-26, his sources are saying that's going to come and go and there'll be nothing that will happen, which means that Clemson and Florida State in 25-26 will be playing once again in the ACC.
Yes.
which I'm not surprised. I've been telling you that the entire time. Again, it just makes it difficult. Now, let's get to Amazon because you wanted to talk about the NBA rights.
Yes, and it is today or yesterday, I believe. Yesterday afternoon was the deadline. TNT and Warner Bros. Discovery had to be able to match any deal that was put up for the NBA's TV rights. They had this in their contract. They were able to, as of yesterday, put some sort of offer on the table. And it's expected the offer they put up is to try and match Amazon's offer for 11 years, $1.8 billion as part of the annual contract with the NBA. But it is expected the league will still go with Amazon over TNT because, spoiler, they don't have to take TNT's offer. They could if they want to, but it doesn't look like they're going to, which many people might feel some way about, but it's part of it. That they had the option of trying to go match NBC, ESPN, ABC. They went for the small one, the lowest number with Amazon and $1.8 billion, and it's going to end up staying Amazon's. The NBA is probably going to go with Amazon. They want to get streaming in there, and it's a good way to do it.
Yes, and this is going to lead to a legal challenge. And it'll lead to a legal challenge because Warner Brothers Discovery, Turner, will say the language is there because you notice you'll notice when the new contracts come out what's not in there. When the new contracts come out, what's not in there in the new contracts is the ability to match when the deals are up because they feel they're being burned by this. So when you look at Turner, they exercise the right to match. Now, right now, Turner pays $1.2 billion per year.
So
they will kick it up to $1.8 billion,
50% increase
per year. But the NBA now gets to review the offer and determine whether it will accept the match. At this point, that doesn't seem likely. They've already made up their mind that it's going to be ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. With Amazon, by the way, getting the in-season tournament.
Yes.
Which is tremendous because I didn't watch it when it was on ESPN. So the NBA is going to argue that Turner cannot actually match the deal because it's a streaming-only package. And Turner is not offering that. And they're saying that if they're going to stream, they'll stream it on Max. Okay. And they'll tell you that Prime Video is double the viewing experience of Max.
And if I may, very quickly, on the Max Amazon Prime thing, just for those out there wondering, as someone who's watched Game of Thrones and would watch it as it came out, House of the Dragon, same thing, there is never a day that goes by where Max doesn't have a problem in terms of actually watching the thing.
Right.
The number of times where I would go to watch the episode of Game of Thrones as it releases and the entire site would just crash, yes, there's probably more people doing that than there are that are going to be watching an NBA game on a Tuesday, but not a great thing that it happened pretty much every time. They were always like, oh, we didn't expect as many people to have this happen, but it happened the 10 times prior, so why didn't you expect the same number of people to, whatever. So not a great go from them. And Amazon Prime can do it. We've seen it with the NFL. And again, spoiler, the NFL has more viewers than the NBA does, so.
Right, but here's the caveat. Here's the next part. Right? The NBA, this is not going to be getting $1.8 billion each year. Okay? It'll be $1.8 billion each year starting in year 4. Because the NBA is demanding of ESPN, NBC, and whomever the third package happens to be, to have the first 3 years up front, which is $5.5 billion. Everybody knows that Warner Brothers Discovery, a.k.a. Turner, is cash-strapped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because of what Turner's doing or anything like that. Remember, it's a complete conglomerate.
Mm-hmm.
$5.5 billion is going to be extremely difficult for them to come up with. Amazon can come up with it. After all, let's look at your household when at Christmas. There's every time you turn around, there's another package out there, and you weren't even sure what you bought.
Mm-hmm.
So
you'd be right.
So the NBA probably won't accept the match. Turner, in its own way, this is a save face thing. Well, we matched the deal, so they save face, and this will head to court. And it's going to be up to a court to say, well, in the contract it says they can match a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's going to be how specific the match has to be and what is the language in the contract. I know there's an entire group out there that seems to feel like, contracts don't mean anything these days. Hey, over here in the back, they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we've talked about the grant of rights deal with the ACC and so forth. Yeah, they actually do matter. Why did Texas and Oklahoma pay their $50 million to get out? Because they had a contract. Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody put A and B and have it equal C anymore? I have no idea.
I put 2 and 2 together equals fish sometimes, but that's just me.
So this is going to go to court.
Mm-hmm.
It does bring with it a multitude of outcomes.
Yeah. Outcome number 1.
Well,
yeah, just
the NBA walking over and saying, "Hey, look, here's some money. Go away."
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
that's one.
Number 1, they
right?
go away.
In other words,
Amazon gets the
rights. In other
rights.
words, it's going to court. Here's some money. Go away. We don't need you.
Number 2.
They could then sit there and say, all right, you know what? We'll take a nominal amount from you, have a 4th rights deal. You get to do Wednesdays, but no playoff games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
That they can say, we're still on the air. We still have NBA games, all of that fun jazz.
Right. And so, they could sit there and say, hey, look, for $1 billion per year, we'll give you Wednesday. Great.
Yeah, cool. NBA's like, cool, we'll take the money.
Cool. That's great. The next part is they could be forced to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those are some of the outcomes that could happen here.
Yeah.
We'll give you some money, go away. We're taking Amazon's deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're taking Amazon's deal, but we'll give you the Wednesday night package for a cheaper price. And we're just, at this point, we're just taking money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Want this over and done with.
Right. Or we're forced by the court to accept your deal. Here we go. $1.8 billion a year. We need $5.5 billion from you and tell Charles Barkley to be at work on Monday. So this is just getting started. This should have been an easy negotiation for Turner, considering how far back this package goes. Their leadership botched it. Everybody knows their leadership botched it.
And this, by the way, comes amid a point where there are heavy rumors and speculation by multiple outlets that HBO is considered splitting up, or Warner Brothers is considered splitting up the Max streaming service.
Right. Because it's losing money.
Yeah. And they want to split it up into, wait for it, Discovery and then HBO Max. Right. They want to do what they had originally before they combined everything.
Right.
So
yeah, but let's be a conglomerate.
Yeah.
So that's where that is. ESPN already is locked in. NBC's already locked in. Look, I think it's going to take a lot for them to go away from Amazon. I think to me, the best solution is to give them okay, you know what? We're going to offer you a package. You get 1 day a week, no playoff games. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Take it or leave it, and we'll do it. Let's just pick a number, $800 million. Right? $900 million, since there are 30 teams. Okay.
Yeah.
And then go from there. And if you get to 32 teams, then you make it $960 million.
Yeah.
Right.
The question is, what will happen?
This is doing a lot of adding and subtracting and dividing here in the air. I think my numbers were right.
Yeah. Well done.
Right.
Well done.
So, all right, there's that. Next up, 18 games in the NFL.
Yes, and we've talked about it a bunch. It's kind of one of those things that it's the train coming down the tracks. You can see it a mile away, and you know it's coming. It just has not arrived yet. Apparently, discussions with the NFL and NFLPA have hit a very high level per NFLPA Executive Director Lloyd Howell, who told this to the Washington Post.
Yes.
So, spoiler, it's happening.
They had a meeting on Monday, and the discussions between the two sides, which had not been previously reported, indicate that the latest pursuit by the league and team owners of an 18-game schedule has moved beyond the hypothetical stage.
They have apparently not had formal negotiations, but they have acknowledged both sides. They plan to discuss the item in the near future. So it's going to happen. We'll probably hear an announcement before the end of the season.
Here's the deal. You knock off another preseason game, you get 2. Nobody, it used to be a point where they had 5, and by the way, if you're in the Hall of Fame games, 6 preseason games. That's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And guys played. I mean, guys played. Well, now it's down to 3, and hardly anybody that is on the regular season roster plays.
They give you 1 game and then a quarter, and that's it.
So you cut it down to 2. Going from 16 to 17 is an incredible toll on the body. Now you're going to go to 18. That means everybody needs not just 1, but they need 2 bye weeks during the season.
Something that's kind of been talked about. We've discussed it. Joe Burrow brought it up. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, where Joe Burrow said, if you're going to give us 18 games, give us a second bye week, give us one in the first third, or the end of the first third, and the middle of the second third, somewhere in those periods where you can kind of give yourself
this is what college football needs to do. There will be 2 bye weeks this season, but it's only because the calendar between Labor Day and Thanksgiving maps out 14 Saturdays.
Yes.
Okay? Between Saturday of Labor Day weekend and Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. That's why you have 2 bye weeks this year. College football should consider going to 2 permanent bye weeks. Moving forward and starting on what is now week 0, but actually starting the season that weekend.
If you're making your players play more, give them more time off. Right. They not only deserve it, but also, like as you just said, their bodies are going to get punished for playing an extra full game, going all out, and like it's going to hurt. In the NBA, we've discussed it. You see players sitting out a bunch.
Right.
You don't see that in the NFL unless it's a really serious injury. Right. In that case, they shouldn't be playing anyway.
Because I have questions moving forward, starting next year, whether you can have a 124-man roster, which is about what Penn State's going to be. You know, you go 105, then you expand once the first day of school comes up. Can you go forward with a 124-man roster because of the new financial payout system where allegedly everybody's going to get money? Well, can you give money to 24 extra players?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you have to think about. Now, do you need those 24 extra players? For practice, you do, actually.
Yeah.
Hey, I can tell you it's hard to do a practice. I mean, because you're like, well, you got 105 guys. Well, what do you got 20 guys out? It's like, okay.
We've got 105. You take out, let's say, 6 specialists. Then you divide that in half, let's say, for the offense and defense. That's 50 some odd guys per side, 56, 57, which means you've probably got only a couple, get 2, maybe 3 units of each side. Like, you don't have a lot.
The collective bargaining agreement runs out in 2031. This is going to get done, I would guess, within the next, who knows, 5 to 6 months.
It'll be announced before the season ends. For the Super Bowl, they'll talk about this. This will be happening before then.
The question is, what is the limit where it's not just the limit for players? What's the limit of interest from people who watch football? You do have the beginning of the season where there's a level of excitement. You get to the end of the season and those Saturday afternoon games and things like that, people are not, they're not as...
We don't want to watch the Raiders take on the Buccaneers when they're both 5 and 9.
I mean, this year you've got the two games that are opposite the college football playoff, and it happens to be the 4 teams that are playing on Christmas. That's their way of playing on Thursday instead of playing on Sunday. So there might be, considering it's the Texans, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Steelers, you actually may have some interest there, which then dovetails into the Netflix Christmas Day games. But there are a lot of games that are now being, yawn, Monday Night Football, that's not a good game. Monday Night Football's inventory of games has improved the last 2 years.
Monday and Thursdays have always been really weird with game choices. It feels like some seasons they have incredible games across the board, and then you get some seasons where you see like, I know we've seen in the previous seasons teams that are like 2-12 playing, and you're like, why are both of them playing in this game?
You can tell they don't want to, for example, take Kansas City, Baltimore, and put it on Thursday night. Right? But they want to put something in there that's at least intriguing.
In past seasons when the Saints had Breeze, it was the Saints and the Falcons ended up being a Thursday night game a couple times. That was fun. It's a good watch.
Colts, Broncos, that was such a bad game that I remember I'm watching the game. And Al Michaels perfectly spelled out what my mindset was at the moment. This is so bad, I can't stop watching it.
Yes.
All right? But you're getting a lot of games like that. And I realize that you have to, you're trying to put together a schedule, and they're trying to do a lot of this ahead of time. And when you're doing it ahead of time like that, you're going to run into a couple games where you sit back and go, oh, mercy me. That is, that's not good.
And sometimes you can't predict when like a Texans will be incredible.
Suddenly I know where they're good.
But you also can kind of predict when some teams are most likely going to not be good. And it happened a lot where there was a lot of those games on Thursday nights where you'd see a Colts and Broncos where you're like, what am I watching here? And it's not pretty at all.
No, it's not. And that's what so that's where the 18 comes in. Is there, I mean, I know the NFL is the behemoth. I know they steamroll everybody. But is there actually enough interest to add another weekend on? And that's the part, like, you've expanded the playoffs. You have the Super Bowl now in the second weekend of February, which is a sweeps month, by the way. All right, I understand that. But is there enough interest for an extra weekend? Now, there's no interest for the third weekend of the preseason. There's none.
Yes.
Okay.
They're trying to add a little bit extra on there.
Right. Okay. So you're going to start the season probably a week earlier. You're going to start Labor Day weekend, whatever it may be, and then go through your season. College football needs to do the same thing. I know that if you start in the third weekend of August, right, heat is going to be a tremendous factor across the country, and in particular in the South.
When you go to the Miamis of the world.
Right. I mean,
like both NFL
you should be playing it.
NCAA.
That weekend should be loaded with a lot of night football. But college football needs to consider a second bye weekend like they have this year, because if you're going to expand the playoff, and like as I said earlier, Tony Petitti will be asked about 12 versus 14. Right. If you're going to expand it like that, what's the best way to do it where you're actually thinking of the athletes?
Yes.
And that is 2 bye weekends.
And that's something I think has not been talked about enough, because like the collegiate to pro game is very different across the board for almost every sport, because spoiler, college athletes play less games. In basketball, how many games does Penn State play in basketball for a good season?
31 games.
31 games?
Now, if they have a really good season, they can play as many as 35.
35, great. And how many games does the NBA teams play? 82 at minimum.
Yep.
Like, you're doubling your season. The NCAA with the playoff is going to get eerily close to the NFL's number of games. And the closer you get to it, these athletes have not played that many games before.
Right.
It is tough playing that number of games at this high of a level. At this high of a level.
Depends on who you are.
Yeah.
Because if you go to the high school playoffs.
IMG and yeah.
No, but you go to the high school playoffs in this state.
Yeah.
You could end up playing 16 games.
Yes. But again, I know.
You get the championship game because I remember George Landis, who was one of Jack's teammates at Penn State, and George ended up being a head coach at Bucknell and so forth. Well, he's been the high school coach at CD, one of the two, East West, whatever. And this is, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. He comes over, he goes, "Hey, Jack, Steve, how you guys doing?" The whole thing. Yeah, he says, and Jack asked him how his season was going. And he said, "No, we're pretty good. We should go into the playoffs." I said, "Well, how many playoff games do you have to win to get there?" And he says, "Well, in the end," he says, "for us, like between the district and then the playoff itself," he says, 6 more games. I said, "You're going to play 16 games? It's a high school."
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in college, nobody is, okay. Right now, you can get 2 teams possibly to 17.
Yeah.
Possibly
to 17. The problem is, though, as soon as you get to that number, like you're playing at such a high level.
Now, in all likelihood, in other words, say you happen to be the championship game loser in the conference, and then you get to the first round. So was it? So that would be 13. Let's see, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 17. Now, to be honest with you, that's a little bit of a long shot. But it's a possibility,
especially with the expanded playoff. That's definitely a possibility.
Again, if you're the playoff, if you are your championship game loser, which means you played in the game
in Alabama, Georgia,
which would then put you into the at-large pool, and so that gives you the extra weekend.
Let's say Alabama, Georgia played. One of them lost the title game, but they were the number 1 seed. They were undefeated. All of a sudden, they're in the playoff, and then they go on this run. They win the championship. Like they could play 17 games, as you said. And that's a lot. And at that point, you're pretty much even to the NFL season.
Right.
And the NFL players can barely get through a full season.
Right. That's the NFL. That's the NFL season. The NFL at 18 would still have a longer regular season. There's still playoffs after those games.
And you would have to think just from a pure number standpoint, in terms of, I know we got kind of sidetracked, the number of games at most you could probably fit in the NFL schedule that would make sense for both fans to watch them and also for monetary reasons. I feel like 18 is probably the magic number where like you can't cross that threshold. If you get 18, you're pushing it. But if you go beyond 18, if they try to go to 19, no, it's you're going too far. 17 was probably the perfect number.
No,
they've probably gone past it with 18.
17's hard because it's hard working with odd numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard working with odd numbers. That's why we were talking yesterday about in the Big Ten, in college sports, 16's probably, if you're going to be in a huge conference, 16's the best number to work with, which is what the SEC has. That is what the Big Ten was going to do.
Yeah.
Until the Oregon-Washington thing came up. So it's hard to take one extra one, and now you're at an odd number and go, okay, how do we make this work? We've seen 17 be an odd number. And let's take the Eagles, for example. The Eagles are going to open up on a Friday night in Brazil. They're playing in Brasilia, I believe. I think they're playing in the capital. And the Eagles and the Packers are going to be playing the game. The NFC, I believe, this year is the year that they have the extra home game. All right.
They're playing at in São Paulo.
São Paulo, okay. They're going to play in São Paulo, okay. So they're going to play in São Paulo. The Eagles are going to have 8 home games this year because the 9th one is going to be the one in Brazil. I have a big problem with that. And here's why I have a big problem with it. The reason I have a big problem with it is that Eagle fans, for better or worse, have been loyal, dedicated. Team's bad, they show up, boo them. Team wins, don't like half the plays, boo them. Right. But they're there every game.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taking a game away from them?
Yeah.
No offense, they've earned a 9th home game with their fans. Now, Green Bay, they're the road team, but it'd be the same thing with Green Bay.
Yeah.
Okay? They get 80,000 plus. I mean, people don't realize how big Lambeau is now.
Huge.
It's 80,000 seats. They get 80,000 fans every game. Okay? It's below zero, 80,000 fans. It's 85 degrees, 80,000 fans. It's raining, 80,000 fans. It's a driving snowstorm,
81,000 fans.
Right? I mean, okay. So then taking a home game, now they're not losing the home game in this case, but taking a home game away from them, right? It's another thing to take a home game away from Jacksonville.
Yes.
Because Jacksonville, while their attendance has definitely improved in Jacksonville, it's still good, not great, right? As opposed to taking away from fan bases who have earned getting an extra home game.
You've got probably half a dozen teams that have earned an extra home game or should not have one taken away.
That's right.
Is a good way to put it as well.
And so that's when I look at stuff like that and like, there has to be somebody outside of the marketing department that fights for the fans. That should be Roger Goodell, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. It should be Adam Silver. It should be Gary Bettman. And it should be Rob Manfred.
Don't forget, it's just a piece of metal. Just a piece of metal.
So you're Sandy Koufax. This is the Hall of Fame. So you're Sandy Koufax. Really? So you started your career in Brooklyn had a team? Oh.
But
he like
somebody needs to fight for the fans.
Right. And that has to be a person that's not just a businessman. You have to have a business, somebody that has a good business acumen to do all this. I've got that because you have to negotiate TV contracts, other deals, so forth. I got that. But you have to have a passion for the people and the consumer who buy your product. And you are nothing without them.
And for some reason, and I really don't understand it, and we've had this discussion before, why are the fans put last in the line of thought that people in professions, in sports have, where the fans are always last when it comes to, where is this game going to be played overseas? Oh, should we play this game at 2 p.m. on a Thursday? Great idea. Let's do it. Spoiler, everyone was at work 2 p.m. on a Thursday for the most part. Like, across the board. Or, should we move our team from Oakland to Sacramento for a week? Maybe. That's probably a good idea, right? It makes no sense.
No.
I get it sometimes when, like, there is an Oakland situation where the owner is terrible. In that case, the owner should be the one held accountable, not the fans.
Right.
The fans being told, you're not good enough, you're not coming to our ground, how dare you, we're going to move the team, is bad because they're not the ones causing it. They aren't showing up because the owner sucks, and he's not representing the fans. Every owner should be representative of their fan bases. That's what we do with politicians, where we tell them, like, you are representing a senator from Pennsylvania represents the people of Pennsylvania.
Right.
He is there to be their number one supporter, their number one fan, their voice.
Our advocate.
Yeah, our advocate. Why are owners exempt from this? Why is the commissioner exempt from this? They should be the advocate for the fans of the NFL teams. Gail Benson is the advocate for the New Orleans Saints fans in the entire Louisiana area.
That's right.
But for whatever reason, other owners are not. And it baffles me that is the case.
I have been
baffled
for a long time about, they just think if we do it, the suckers will follow. They're so loyal. And that's not, you need to have somebody who sits there in a room and advocates for the fans. I saw a chart And the chart dealt with where each league, the percentage of where they get their money from.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL obviously gets about 2/3 of its money from the TV deals.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL, on the other hand, gets 44% of its money from ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I understand where they're getting their money from in the NFL, from the TV deals.
Mm-hmm.
But the pandemic taught us certain lessons which we are starting to forget.
Mm-hmm. Such as? Well, there's a lot of them that we need to be wary of. Certainly, I mean, everything is. I can make a bunch of statements here, and some people would misconstrue it. But when it comes to the NFL,
but when it comes to the NFL, why did the ratings go down when everybody was at home?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were studio games with nobody in the stands. Mm-hmm. And then when the fans returned to the stadiums and the energy was coming through the TV set, the ratings were going up 6, 7, 8%. Because they create the energy and the excitement to go with the excitement of the action.
The fans add to a game. They could very much so subtract. When they're not there, it is bad.
They enhance the experience of watching the game on TV. The pandemic taught us that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when I see the NFL gouging on Sunday ticket.
Mm-hmm. Which they've finally been called on a little bit, called out on a tiny bit.
They lost a court case, right? You see the TV deals they have, moving stuff all over the place. Thursday night, hey, Christmas Day's now ours. It's a Wednesday.
And
No, we're good. We'll go up against the college football playoff on Saturday to make Wednesday Christmas Day look, work. Okay, great.
And now they're making fans watch Wednesdays on like Netflix, Thursdays on Amazon, Fridays sometimes on NFL TV or whatever it is.
But they're also telling the fans, of two franchises that you're going to be playing on Christmas Day and a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they've told fans of, I believe Jacksonville's the team was played like in seasons 2 games away in other countries.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what are you doing? Like, at most, you take a team out of the country for 1 game. I get the Jaguars have relationships abroad with Tony Khan, but
I understand
taking a team away for 2 games to London, ridiculous.
These are, you don't have, this is what they have to realize. You don't have the fans. Mm-hmm. You don't have a product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's what they don't understand. At least somebody doesn't understand it. All right, there's somebody more powerful that doesn't understand it. We'll do whatever we want. They'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you have to make it easy for people. So let's go back to the 66%. So I was trying to go through all the deals they have. They got this deal, that deal, this deal, that deal, this deal, that deal. Why don't you lower ticket prices?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that would be sacrilege. Excuse me. You're already making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why don't you do something that makes it easier for them to be there?
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to gouge people. You're already messing around with, okay, what day are we playing? We're playing Thursday? No, we're playing Sunday? No, we're playing Monday? No, okay, well, this weekend's a Saturday, right? We're playing Friday? What?
Mm-hmm.
You look around and go, what the heck? It's the same thing. Every sport's like this now.
Mm-hmm.
Every professional sport is like this now. I don't. The fans need to have whomever's in charge be an advocate for them, not just. Okay, the commissioner should not just be an advocate for the owners. The head of the Players Association is the advocate for the players. Mm-hmm. The commissioner needs to be the advocate for the fans. Yeah. Okay, Rob Manfred is not an advocate for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he is an attorney. He's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. He acts like he acts like he doesn't want to be places.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Hall of Fame thing the other day. I was talking to John Parado yesterday. And I said, John, what was it like with Manfred? He says he acted like he didn't want to be there.
It's ridiculous. That's where you should be in celebrating your players.
But
that's where you should. Your history is
right,
in Cooperstown.
You should be there in Cooperstown and be excited to be there. And by the way, have goosebumps that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a big deal. This is your Hall of Fame. Okay? Look at all the people that are, because it's not just the 4 guys that went in. It's not just Adrian Beltre. It's not just Joe Mauer or Jim Leland. Right? It's all the other Hall of Famers are there.
Mm-hmm.
This is your version of your baseball royalty sitting behind you. As the commissioner, he should have goosebumps over that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he doesn't. And in terms of advocating for the fans, where has he ever advocated for the fans? Where? Any point, any time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Adam Silver's, gets, he's the best commissioner in the whole thing. Adam Silver's kind of doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To be honest with you, he's kind of, hey, we're going to take games overseas. We're going to play in China. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Like, okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because again, it's all about where can I get the dollars?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you who's been supplying all the dollars. Because guess what? ESPN's a cable package.
Mm-hmm.
NBC's over the air, but it's still on your cable.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon Prime, you have to pay for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Who pays for all the cable bills? Who pays for the streaming service?
Me and you and the other fans out there.
The fans do.
Mm-hmm.
Over and over again. Look what we did. Look what you did what? I can't find my game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Major League Baseball. We have a Friday night package with Apple.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Friday night package with Apple. There's been some pretty good games on Apple on Friday night. And guess what? Nobody's watching it. The fans are telling them, hey, idiots, you made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we can't believe this is not working. What, did you ever sit down in a room and think that maybe, like, advocating for the fans, what's best for the fans?
Mm-hmm.
They don't do that.
No.
They don't do that.
And you brought up a point, and I want to go on it a little bit extra real fast. So ticket prices going up is part of the issue, and not just ticket prices, but also the cost of everything in stadiums. Like the cost of living is going up across the board. If we discuss that a lot in real life, but we're not going to touch on that part of it.
Right.
What matters is prices for everything are getting more expensive, but especially at sporting events, it costs an arm and a leg to go to games. As a kid, I went to a bunch of Yankee games.
Yep.
I had the best time. Yankee games now, for the same seats I went to when I was younger, I'd sit, my family and I sat on the third base side, maybe upper third of the rows in the lower bowl. Great seat at the old Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built. It was the most fun place in the world. And now ticket prices are like quadruple for those same seats, or more than that. If you go over to England, the Premier League, for 3 years, they froze prices across the board for every team because tickets were expensive, and it was a problem.
Right.
Going from last season to this season, Bournemouth, a team owned by, I believe, English owners, I know Michael B. Jordan's a part of the ownership group, have gone and increased their ticket prices by 18.1%, which is now making them €500 for a season ticket.
Right.
18% increase. You're chucking it up extra $50 to €100 a season on tickets.
Yep.
It is a lot of money. And that is for season tickets.
And by the way,
individual games.
A euro, just so everybody knows, is $1.08 of an American dollar.
It is a lot of money. For me to go watch a baseball game at Medler, the Spikes, is what, $6 to $12, I think. It's the best time.
Right.
I have so much fun doing it because I can do it.
Right.
And I'm not going to charge myself $500 to do so.
That's right.
And it is annoying that there is no consideration for fans when they raise and jack up prices. For me to go watch Arsenal, my team, who are coming to America on this tour, I'm so excited. A few years ago, I went to go watch Juventus and Benfica in Harrison, New Jersey at Red Bull Arena. Team from Italy and Portugal. Great time. Ticket prices were at $100 to go and watch them. Two of the biggest teams in the world. Cristiano Ronaldo was playing with Juventus, like the biggest player. He was there. He was having a great time. For me to go watch Arsenal play against, I forget whoever they're playing here in the U.S., it's going to cost me $300 for one ticket. That's nuts. And that is something I'd pay extra for because they're here in the U.S. So, yeah, instead of paying $100 like I probably should, I'll pay $120. I'll pay $150. That's a little extra. But $300's crazy. And that's for a random one-off game. Across the board, tickets everywhere are going up, and people can't pay them. The young kids, the 6-year-olds who want to go and watch these games because they love baseball and they love the Baltimore Orioles, the New York Mets, or whoever their fans are. If they're a Mets fan, I'm sorry for them. But if they want to go watch these teams, it costs them an arm and a leg. They can't just get in and have a great time and go watch them. It costs them a year or two of saving up to go watch one single game.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, again, you talked about the current situation. Rent is up.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance rates are up.
Gas is up.
Gas is up. Groceries are up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that then puts the squeeze on what the entertainment dollar happens to be. You have to be selective about your entertainment dollar. So the New Era tour is going on with Taylor Swift. Do I pay to go to that, or do I pay to go to the Chiefs game? Might as well keep it in the family, right? Or do,
it is a decision.
You have to make that decision right now as to what you want to do with your entertainment dollar, because your entertainment dollar is your extra money in most cases.
Yeah.
At least you perceive it to be your extra money.
You've saved up a little extra, and you have $50 to go to a concert, and you really would like to, so why not?
I'd like to go on vacation. Maybe I'll go to the concert instead and take a couple of days fewer, right? But I want to go to the concert. I want to see Taylor Swift. Okay. I want to see Luke Combs, whatever. Okay. But those are the decisions you have to make. You sit there, okay, I want to be a season ticket holder for said team. Okay. Right. And I realize that everybody has operating expenses. I understand that everybody has operating expenses.
Yeah.
I got that. All right. But, for example, LeBron James, who will be the flag bearer, the male flag bearer for the U.S., I'm going to announce the female one today, I believe. The male flag bearer for the United States at the Olympic Games in Paris is going to get a max contract with the Lakers. And what did he end up getting, like 52, 53?
52, 53. But he took a pay cut, by the way. He could have gotten more.
Per year.
Yeah.
Right? Well, no offense, but, and I say this with all due respect, I mean, because I don't begrudge anybody getting their money, not in the least. But should one guy on a team make $52 million? And how much do the people at Crypto.com Arena have to pay for tickets to now watch him play? See, there's this spiral that is out of control right now. And even though you have a salary cap, which is supposed to allegedly allow you to keep control, there's a problem.
There is a breaking point, and it was the first time it really got brought up.
Have you priced yourself out?
Yeah, and the first time it really got brought up, as you mentioned earlier, was the Eras Tour. Well, all of a sudden, everyone's like, why is it going to cost me $500 extra because all the processing fees and stuff Ticketmaster has? Like, that's absurd how much money they're getting. Right. And then it went to the U.S. government and to the Senate and to the Congress, and they literally were like trying to figure out why this is so crazy. And it is hitting a point where going to games costs way, way, way too much. Honestly, you probably pay the same amount to watch a team at home, if not less, for a full season than you do to go watch them for a singular game.
I know, it's a different era.
That's ridiculous.
It's a different era. So I will say that right out of the gate. but I remember going and sitting in the center field bleachers at Fenway Park for $2.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know it's it's decades ago. Yeah, decades.
But that got you to love baseball.
But I was able to sit in the center field bleachers at Fenway Park and watch baseball, and I loved it. Right? Again, and I know this is the same topic, but it's just a different tangent to it. What they did to the minor leagues, where you had free marketing in 42. Not free, you had to pay for each team's about $1 million per for the two extra teams. But you had marketing in 42 places across the country where people could pay $6 to $12, fall in love with the game. And like last night, for example, the Pirates were playing the Cardinals and Andre Palante was on the mound. Well, where did Andre Palante first pitch when he came up? Here with the State College Spikes. He was the pitcher of the year for the State College Spikes. Well, Palante's out there on a major league mound. There are fans here who will remember him. There are young people who got his autograph along the way, and now he's in the major leagues. I got Andre Palante's autograph. Right? See, and it's stuff like that where you're making these business decisions and you're using your head where you've got to use your heart.
On August 7th, the Angels are going to Yankee Stadium to play the Yankees. And I'm going to find the ticket price right now. If you do not include the upper deck.
Sure, I understand.
Get rid of the 400 level.
Right, I understand.
Let's say 234 left field, Yankee Stadium.
Sure.
I want you to guess how much the ticket costs. It's honestly lower than I thought it would be.
For the Yankees and Angels?
Yankees-Angels game for the middle deck left field.
So am I going for one person or how many people?
Let's go with a group of 4.
Group of 4?
A parent, a mom and dad, and 2 kids.
I would say a group of 4 would be $220.
Let's select that. We are looking at more like $320. And that's the farthest back row in that section. For me and 3 friends, and I know like you're wearing the shirt, and I brought this up because I've done the math in my head. Going to a State College Spikes game, let's say it costs you $8 a ticket.
Right.
$32. Right. Let's say you get food and drink and all of that. You're spending at most maybe $80 for everyone in total.
Right.
$80 for 4 people to go enjoy a minor league game, and $80 plus fees for one ticket in like the upper deck of Yankee Stadium.
You haven't even paid to park yet.
Parking costs $60.
Right. Now, you may park.
Food costs $20.
You may park someplace else, take the train in, but it's still going to cost. You haven't bought any food yet or beverages.
I bought my first adult beverage at Yankee Stadium in May of 2021.
I mean, Jason Lord did the same thing at a Phillies game. He hasn't stopped since.
The cost of that beverage, I remember it was $26 for one beverage, Yankee Stadium, for me to get my first ever beverage. $26.
Now,
it was not worth it at all.
Remember that they do contract out concessions.
I know.
And they don't set it. That's why I give Arthur Blank so much credit with what he does in Atlanta.
Yeah.
What he does in Atlanta is tremendous because the concession prices are, wow, really? That's it? That's amazing.
But the point of it cost you $1 million to get in the stadium, and it cost you $500,000 to get anything in the stadium.
Yeah, I know.
Like prices are up across the board, and the fact that MLB gets rid of minor league teams because they're losing them money and all these things.
They're not losing money.
Yeah.
It costs about $1 million per to do this. $1 million. Okay, that's a utility infielder.
You're growing the game. You are growing the game by having fans in State College watch the Spikes.
You have
New Britain, the Rock Cats.
You have a 10.5. Okay, the NFL is right now is an 18 to $19 billion industry. Major League Baseball is 10 to 10.5 billion. You're talking about $30 million among 30 teams, $1 million per, to hand on a silver platter marketing to small towns where everybody is fighting to get the 18 to 34-year-old person interested in their product. They're interested. See, MLS does a good job with that. They get them in. They lose money, but they get them interested. Okay? Mom, dad, kids going to game. Grandparents taking kids to game. Whatever it happens to be. Okay? For $6 to $12. And guess what? I got Andre Palante's autograph. Well, now the Pirates are going to be playing the Cardinals. I want to go down and see a Pirate game because I want to see Andre Palante pitch. I've got his autograph when I was a kid. Does anybody in a room sit down and say these things? No. All they care about are bottom lines, right? And, okay, the consumer should always count. You ask yourself over and over again how much with major league sports, right? NFL, NBA, NHL, right? And how much do you count, right? Well, I don't understand why we have a problem. Well, we have a problem because you ignored these people. You can't ignore people.
You ignore the reason your product is successful, your fans.
Right. I always talk about the triangle. Can't have the game without the players every time there's a strike. Okay. Well, you need to be paid, so you can't have the game without the owners. Oh, and by the way, the both of you are beholden to the third part of the triangle that you never talk about, and that's the fans.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on